Yeah, the Olympics it's weird. It's a weird race. It's only 90 riders, I believe, which is, roughly half a peloton. Like Tour de France is like 180 riders. So that in straight away makes it odd. The teams are also super small. I think the largest team has 4 riders. Again, that's half of a normal team. And there's a lot of solo eagles flying around out there too. A lot of nations with one rider. USA in the women's race, we only had 2 riders. That's not much of a team when we're talking about traditional World Tour style racing, where you just have puzzle pieces all over the place, and every team has 6 to 8 riders, and there's a lot more depth to that sort of race. So the Olympics, in many ways, it's the pinnacle, but it's also kind of like watching a junior race. Just a lot of people sort of out there trying to get whatever they can get in any way they can get it, and so it makes it really disjointed, makes it exciting, it makes it really annoying if you're racing it. And then obviously, the riders are racing for nations, not trade teams, which makes for an interesting dynamic because a lot of times when you're racing for a nation, you're racing with somebody that you've been racing against your whole life. Like you see that a lot, like with countries like the Netherlands and Belgium. These guys race against each other from the age of like 9 until 35 years old, and sometimes they like each other and sometimes they absolutely hate each other, and so that makes for an odd dynamic. And then within that, you're racing against your teammates, people that you have been paid to like and found a way to like, which makes it sometimes difficult to race against them. Like I don't know, like a lot of times your trade team, your teammates, you have roommates that you room with. I mean, you see them more than you see your spouse. You're out there all the time. You go through all the highs and lows together, and then you put on a different jersey, and you're supposed to, cut them off at every corner. So that makes things interesting to watch when you know who's on what team, because you can see little alliances forming between nations that normally don't look like they should be there, but it's like, oh, those guys are best friends, or oh, those 2 girls are on the same team, but they one of them never gets their chance and the other one always gets to play the leader, so they kind of hate each other. And so it makes for a complicated race on the fly. And then I think the one that a lot of people see is the no radios aspect. Most riders, and I think all riders in any World Tour race now, you have a radio, and you spend 15 minutes every day making sure your earpiece is on right and doing radio checks every day. And then you go to the Olympics, and it's so loud you can't hear anything getting shouted out of the cars. You can hardly read the chalkboard, and I heard they were passing up notes on water bottles out there, just trying to get time splits to people so people knew what the heck was going on. So that makes things a little panicked, which we saw with Remco when he got a flat. He didn't realize he had 45 minutes or whatever. So this Olympics was special, right? So some Olympics, nobody cares about the road race or time trial or bikes in general. Definitely an afterthought. But this Olympics was super special because it's in Paris, and those road races and the time trials were going on downtown Paris. And, it's, I don't know if you ever heard of the Tour de France, but it's a big deal. And so the people came out, and people were pumped, and the level of noise was unbelievable. How do you prepare for that mentally? I don't know. The only thing I think I ever did that might compare was when we started the Tour de France in Yorkshire, and the crowds were literally 6 deep the entire way around, and you couldn't hear anything in the radio. You couldn't hear anything between your teammates, and this was kind of like when cell phones finally got good cameras. It was like, 2014? and so there was still a novelty for the fans. So we had cell phones hanging out in the course, and I probably plowed through, I don't know, $20,000 worth of cell phones in one day, and that was just me. And I actually got a lot of messages on Instagram and various places saying, "You ruined my phone." And then I felt really bad until I realized that everybody got the messages. And you don't put your phone in the middle of the course. You got to stand back. So how do you prepare for that mentally? I don't know, but it is fun. It's a lot of energy as a rider. It's great. It is stressful. You see a lot of riders that should be there in the final, but probably weren't able to eat and drink enough, whether that's like having a mental lapse because you have so much going on around you, or if that's, logistical, like not being able to go back to the car because it's tight, busy circuits, missing a hand up, those things, like when it's stressful like that and when there's a lot of energy and big crowds, they really compound quickly. Yeah, Remco, he's relatively young, and also not just young, but like kind of young as an athlete, and so a lot of times when I think that like big stimulus from the tour, like he timed it right, and he really built off of it well, and so yeah, just getting that like big bump from the tour on like an engine that was ready to take it, it obviously paid off really well. It's funny you mentioned Wout, because I think Wout, he also timed it really well. I think he used the tour. He had a rough spring and kind of ended up using the tour a little bit more as a stepping stone for the Olympics. But the issue there was Remco, and Wout being Wout, got stuck playing second fiddle like he always does. And honestly, Remco wouldn't have won without Wout. With Van der Poel, he made a couple of moves in there that should have gone all the way up to the front, and he had Wout on his wheel, closing it down. With only 4 teammates, I mean, Belgium did about as good a job as anybody could have ever dreamed to do in the Olympics, with that number of teammates. You have Remco, you have Wout van Aert, Jasper Stuyven, Benoot. It's like that's as close to a dream team as you can get, and they worked really, really, really well together. Benoot, the work he did early in that race set things up really well, and part of that I think was him hoping and dreaming that it would pay off for Wout and not for Remco, but is what it is. I obviously home soil helps a lot, and they have that energy going. They also, it's a big lift. Like we've seen French cycling, it goes up and down like any other nation, but knowing that Paris, the Olympics are going to be in Paris, they knew that 10 years ago, and that's something that a lot of those riders have really built towards. Like Alaphilippe, I know he's been talking about it forever. He really, really, really wanted to do a good Olympics, and frankly, he was good, but he just kind of missed the mark a little bit. Should have come 2 years earlier for him. But also, I don't think Madouas and Laporte would have had the race they had if they didn't have Alaphilippe at least trying to follow Van der Poel on those surges. I mean, frankly, there's not a lot of strategy to be done when you have Remco going the way he was going. The guy was just a man on fire. It's pretty rare that you see somebody time their form for an event that suits them as well as it did. Time it that perfectly. It's everybody tries, but sometimes you get lucky and you put the lightning in the bottle. Man, he seemed to figure that out. And then just having a Belgian team as deep as it was, it was 4 riders of that caliber. They've had a lot of criticism in the past for not working well together. And this year, there's no criticism there. I mean, they work together perfectly. France also did an excellent job. actually setting stuff up for Medwa and then defending that from behind, having Laporte there and having Alaphilippe there, basically to shut things down. Like, I don't want to be mean here, but that for sure is going to be Medwa's biggest result of his life. And, big results. Take it. I think the other team that did really well with what they had was Ireland. They didn't come away with a medal, but they only had 2 riders in the race, and both riders were, super aggressive, super active, and like absolutely in it. Like they couldn't have done anything more, which is fun to see when you see 2 guys like really pull together and do it really well. Team USA, we were up there. We were pretty visibly just marking Belgium. It's like if Belgium goes, we go. The only problem is we didn't go when that one Belgian guy went. But what are you gonna do? They did great.
Yeah, it's cool to see Matteo get top 10. So at least there's that.
Yeah, and it was, that one was interesting too because it seemed like when that move went, Laporte was there with Matteo, and on any given day he shouldn't have ridden at all because he had Medwa in front. But you could see, like, again with the trade team instincts kicking in, like Laporte saw Matteo saw Laporte, and it's like, all right, dude, let's go. And then 5 minutes later, Laporte's like, actually, we're not teammates here, so I gotta be that guy. I'm sorry, and I'm gonna beat you in the sprint also. So no hard feelings. Go France. So the final of the women's race, obviously exciting. The move on paper kind of looked like it shouldn't have worked, right? Like Faulkner went and it was like Voss was chasing, VAS was chasing straight away, right? She's like, she saw the danger there. She knew what was happening. And, frankly, she saw her medal potential go straight up the road. But the other two, Kopecky and Voss, VOS, they've been racing each other for a good long while, and they both know each other's strengths and weaknesses really well. One's from Netherlands, one's from Belgium. Like, you look at how big that those two countries combined are. I mean, it's like the third the size of Colorado. Like, it's, it's like saying one's from Denver and the other one's from Colorado Springs. Like, they know each other really well. And so it's good to know your enemies, and you want to know your enemies really well, but the one that gets you is the one you don't know, and that was Faulkner. And they just straight up mark each other out of the race. And frankly, yeah, there's a lot of tactics there, but I think they were also just super gassed. Like, it's hard to understate that. Like, end of a long race, it was hot. Faulkner was just on a day. She never missed a turn all day. She was working for Chloe when Chloe crashed, and she was kind of just found herself with diamonds in her legs and just kept going, and kept pushing that go button. And she got to the end, and it really wasn't like the best timed attack. It wasn't the sharpest attack. I mean, VAS was like pretty dang close to her wheel, and if anybody else had flicked through, we'd be having a different conversation right now. But she was just that dang good, and didn't know when to let off the throttle, and really paid off. It was funny though, she didn't salute at the end. She didn't put her hands up, none of that. She was just kind of like, in time trial mode, got across the line. And I don't know, she's probably still soaking it up right now. She probably just realized she won like 10 minutes ago. Yeah, she better figure it out soon, because she's got a race on the track.